From the Wetlander to the Highlander, it's Sweet Child of Time with your time-related recaps. We've recapped Wheel of Time, 1899, Dark, the TV show Time Bandits, 100 Years of Solitude. Today, we're continuing with Highlander The Series. We've got Season 1, Episode 3, Band of Brothers on the slat today. I'm Steve Barnes, your sanctuary protector. I got you. I'm here with the Watcher, the best dang Watcher in all of Seacouver. He's James McCullum. Ahoy there, James.
Ahoy. I thought we were going Bendejo, but I guess not. Who cares? Also, is it Bendejo or Pendejo? Is it a B or a P?
It's a B, Bendejo.
Okay.
And yeah, you've suggested that a couple times, and I just haven't really latched onto it because it hasn't latched my brain. I'm sorry, James. It's a great term, but you got to like incorporate it more so it gets stuck in my brain.
This will go into my next segment, but Cheech and Chong next movie when he's like Bendeos, and then Cheech is like, "No, I taught you that term not to be used around. Stop saying it. Stop." And if anything, like Magical Meatball Girls and Death to Squids, other shows I do, we get stoned and discuss things.
Okay.
I think this series we should be doing that, even though you probably already are, because it's Highlander, guys.
Oh, baby, that's a great idea. Well, for the listeners, sometimes I do record when I'm under the influence, but for these Highlander episodes, me and James are recording in the morning time, and we do not wake and bake around here. So, I'm stone cold sober, but I'm kind of like that suggestion, James.
Yeah. The only time I've ever waked and baked was when I had COVID, and I was just like waking up, I really want to just go back to sleep, pop an edible, and then I'm donezoided.
I mean, that's when you might as well wake and bake, because you can't do anything else other than, what are you supposed to do? Isolate, not talk to anybody, not do any damn thing?
I mean, I could have been working on music or whatever, but I was like, no, I want this done in 3 days. And yeah, I slept for 3 days. But one day I need to just be like, I'm waking and baking. I'm just going to be stoned all day. Chances are I'll wake up at 6, I don't know, and just pop an edible, and by noon I'm asleep again.
Definitely make sure you have the next day off if you're going to go this route, because I kind of don't recommend it. I recommend being nice and awake before you do that. But let me get us back on track here, James.
All right.
Our first Highlander episode, I talked about why I love Highlander and why I got into it. Mm-hmm. And since then, I've watched 12 episodes of Highlander between the last time we talked. I've been loving this crap, dude. And it's made me remember a main reason why I really like this show. And that's because I like to get lost in my own head, lost in my own thoughts. And I think to myself, what if I was an immortal? Like, how would I make my money? How would I make my living? What kind of stuff would I have been doing? What kind of friends? I've completely forgot about that whole aspect of it until I've been doing like this Highlander deep dive. So I know what my thoughts are. I've been thinking about this for 53 years, and I've pretty much decided I'm fine being immortal. I kind of like having an end date in mind. I'm not sure if I could handle immortality and all the stress and the bills and the stuff you got to keep in mind.
Real quick, you said you are fine being a mortal.
Yes.
It sounded like you said, I like being immortal. And then I was like, wait, but now he's talking about he likes an end date, huh?
Right. A mortal. I am a mortal man.
Because when you're immortal, you become immoral,
Ooh, you can, especially if you kill the wrong dude. The wrong kind of quickening can take over your brain, as we learned from this episode, perhaps.
I was just saying, if you live forever, you probably have to do some bad things to keep going.
Yeah, you got to be conniving. You got to break some laws, get through some loopholes. Do you think that's something that you could handle? Have you ever thought about this kind of thing before?
If I knew I could live forever, I think my brain would finally be able to shut off and say, you don't got to worry. You don't have to make the greatest song ever within this little span of time. You don't have to be like James Lindsay III. I can't, he's a punk rocker dude, J Retard, that's why you got to say his full name is his God-given name. Or maybe his God-given name was J Retard. I don't know.
Not.
Did you ever get into him?
No, his name kind of kept me away from him.
Oh.
I'm sorry to say.
Steve Barnes, I will send you his 2 best albums. You are going to fall in love with his music and then watch the documentary about him. It's really sad, but his philosophy was most people think you have a certain amount of songs, like great songs in you, but he believed you only had a specific amount of time within your life to write great songs. So he would, on Monday, start a song, track out everything. Like he would write it, track out the drums, everything, and would make a song a week. And then eventually he's like, all right, putting out all of the singles. This is what I worked on this year. And one of the engineers, he was talking about how his drums had an immediacy to it because it's like you can't fuck up. You only have a certain amount of time to get this down.
Oh,
and
wow.
it just, yeah, dude, you are going to find your new favorite artist when I send you this stuff, I think.
Okay, yeah, I've got a completely different view of him just based on his name and like based on just some of like the stuff in the ether around him. I didn't know he was like an altruistic soul that did a song a week. And I like that theory because I was kind of like in the same frame of mind too a few years back. Basically, when you and I first met, I was really keen on like trying to get as many songs and as many riffs into like the atmosphere as possible. I've since then kind of died back on that a little bit because I think you can only sustain that but for so long. That's why I know if I was an immortal, I'd probably have long periods of rest and then like these short bursts, like a couple of years of intense, output. And then I'd go back to my island again, just like Duncan, and hang out for a few years and just kind of take it easy. I wouldn't be a very good immortal. I don't think I would be very, some of these guys like have these big aspirations. In the past, some of these mortals that we've met have been like mayors of towns and sheriffs and the heads of police departments and things like that, artists. I think I would just be like one of these hermit type immortals that kind of lives by himself and is like, I'm not too sure about this whole quickening thing. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Steve, are you seeing waveforms come up on your end?
Yes.
Okay. On my end, they're not. So I was like, is he recording or not?
Absolutely recording. We're 8 minutes in. I wanted to get into something else too, because the last episode we were asking the question, where do immortals come from? How do we determine who an immortal is?
I know where they come from, another planet. Okay, done. That's where they come from, guys. They don't come from the source. They come from Zeist or whatever it's called.
Well, perhaps, but this question got asked among our Reddit and our Facebook groups, and I got a lot of really good answers. And some of the answers I got contained spoilers, and they mentioned names that I kind of wasn't really wanting to bring up on the podcast quite yet.
Yeah, real quick, I read some stuff and it's like, why are you just flat out like spoiling things? I don't remember them, luckily, but come on, guys, don't just be spoiling. I like going into comments, seeing if anyone's saying anything nice about me or anything mean about me, because then I could be like, screw you, you chud.
Or you could say, I could maybe take this opportunity to change myself. Not really, but sometimes criticism can be helpful.
Well, if someone's like, oh man, fuck that kid for thinking Zeist is where they come from. Well, too bad. I loved that movie. And I just clearly haven't seen the same cut I have.
I guess so. Tim Dobbins, who's up in the Highlander Heart Facebook group, I think gave us the most succinct, spoiler-free answer you could ask for.
Heck yeah.
He says, and I quote, "We don't know where immortals come from as far as the series lore is considered, James. All immortals are foundlings raised by adoptive parents. Duncan's parents in the clan from last episode are not his biological parents."
Oh, dang.
So this is a lore dude that's telling us this. So I'm listening. Yeah, last episode too, we talked about the Highlander movie coming out. We didn't talk much about it because I talked more about Queen. Have you heard the new name that's now attached to the Highlander film, James?
Like a subtitle of the name or like a new actor, director or whatever?
A new actor, probably going to be second build after Henry Cavill.
Okay. Is this the other immortal? Is it a male, female?
He's going to be playing the Kurgan, from the first movie. He's a male, and he's not an actor that I'm a fan of necessarily, but he's a big Marvel guy. He's a big Marvel villain type. Any guesses?
Marvel villain type, like he has been a villain before?
Well, he's been in Marvel movies and he's played like rough, mean, tough guys. He could do a really good job as a Kurgan.
It can't. Andy Serkis?
No. Think bigger and tougher.
Bigger and tougher? I mean, hey, he spends a little time in the gym. Andy Serkis.
I mean, that would be a good draw. This name is a pretty big draw. Dave Bautista is going to be our Kurgan.
Yeah. He wasn't he was Drax. He was a good guy. He was a nice man.
I've seen him playing some evil, unsavory characters. I saw like a YouTube super clip because I was like, I'm not too sure about this one because I'm not a Marvel guy, famously, and I'm not a Dave Bautista fan. I'm not a wrestling guy either. So I was a little, I'm not too sure about this one. I like the fact that he's like hugely popular. Mm-hmm. That means that we might get some money and get a big draw and maybe get a TV series out of this thing. But I was like, I watched a YouTube super clip of Dave Bautista doing some action stuff and doing some yelling and being a mean guy with a mean face. And I'm kind of convinced that he's going to be a pretty scary Kurgan.
Yeah, man, he rocks. Because I was going to say, if you're not confident on him being a bad guy, have you not seen him as a wrestler? Because, a lot of times he was a little dick face.
I never saw him as a wrestler. I've only seen like still images. So when I actually got to see like him in motion and him like moving around doing stuff, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm on board with this. I think I'm all right with this one. And I'm sure it's going to be like, Henry Cavill, the star. I'm sure that Dave Bautista is going to bump up there for like the second build because we know we got Marissa Abela. She's an immortal as well. Mm-hmm. She's kind of an unnamed immortal. I just kind of think that the star power is going to get second build. I hate to say it, but I think it's true.
Well, yeah, because it's like Henry Cavill versus Dave Bautista in The Highlander. Return to Zeist. Yeah, baby. They're going back. They're going back. And all you guys are going to cry, but then you'll hear, the reviews. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. They finally verified and not vilified. They finally championed the lore that everyone really wants, which is just any consistency within the lore.
I mean, I guess you're right there.
You know how most of these reboots or these requels have been doing it where they just take the first movie and just skip all of the other stuff? They're like, no, we're going to take the first two movies and use that lore and, do a branch off from there.
I mean, as long as they have those little things that he can like stand on and like zip around the city with like those little, I don't even know what those things were called, but those
like, were
fun. So
rad. And it just felt so Tim Burton-y in that city scene. Oh God, it's so beautiful.
Well, from movie land back to TV land, I want to talk a little bit about this show and like what I've seen up until this episode 13. I want to remind you in the audience that this show is and always has been a French production. Like they produce this in France, filming it in Canada. It's a production called Gaumont Television. This episode that we're watching today, Band of Brothers, is the first French filmed production where they went to France. They're filming in France. And from this episode forward, we're not going to be in Seacouver anymore. We're now going to be in France. So going forward with this episode, we've transitioned over to France, both in the story and in the filming.
Whoa, I thought we were in Delling City.
Delling City. What is Delling City?
Someone didn't watch the links that I sent you.
Oh, the Final Fantasy links.
Yeah. So in Delling City, it is very influenced by Paris. And there's those like big arches, you know the one. It's the first scene from the first shot. Yeah. That's in there. So whenever I see that, I don't think Paris. I think there's one in New York City, maybe. I think Delling City, Final Fantasy VIII. And boy, oh boy, Adia, the sorceress. What she do? Oh, she's just like there talking with the president. She's not going to try a coup of any sort. And oh my God, she looks a lot like the lady who raised us in that orphanage none of us remember.
The crossover none of us asked for, but we're all loving. Okay, all right.
Oh my God. Final Fantasy Highlander, gimme.
All
specifically
right.
Final Fantasy VIII and specifically Highlander 2.
Oh God. Okay. Well, Highlander the series. The last one we watched was episode 2, Family Tree, and then we skipped like 10 episodes. I want to let you know, James, that you didn't miss anything in the plot. It might seem like when you watch this episode at the beginning, when it started out with Darius and Grayson having a conversation, you might be like, who are these guys? What's up? I was thinking the same thing too, because these guys were not in any of the previous episodes. These guys were not even named in the previous episodes. Like when Duncan is all like, oh, blah, 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 my friend Darius. And Tessa's like, oh, you mean Darius the monk? It's like she knows who he is, but we, the audience, do not.
Oh, I wasn't confused by that at all. I was immediately like, oh, this is just some people he is aware of, because that's how a lot of the movies are. It's just like, oh, he's talking about someone he knew years and years ago. But within this episode, the only part that I was confused about and had to remember, oh, I haven't seen 11 of these episodes or 10, whatever it was. When the reporter shows up, I'm like, this seems like a relationship that was in a previous episode that I'm just lost on.
All right, well, here we go. I'm going to spend the next few minutes filling you in on what you missed in those 10 episodes. So between episodes 3 and 13, about 2 years have gone by, James. Ritchie has gotten a job as a used car salesman. He has an on-off relationship with a girl named Angie, who he grew up with. He now has a motorcycle, and we're having lots of car and motorcycle scenes and stunts in these episodes, starting with episode 3.
Hell yeah.
Tessa and Duncan are still strong in love, as you can see, but Tessa has been dropping hints here and there that she wouldn't mind being a mother. Her art career has taken off, and she has her art pieces in parks, stadiums, museums, and now, of course, this episode, Paris is Calling. In the police department, Sergeant Powell, who is kind of that asshole cop that didn't like Ritchie, he's been quietly replaced with Sergeant Bennett. They haven't even mentioned this in the series, but he's played by Tim Reed, who people might know from WKRP. He played Venus Flytrap. So he's now like our local Sergeant Bennett. And he has a real contentious relationship with Duncan. He's been in about 4 episodes. And anytime something happens and Sergeant Bennett, like Duncan's always there and he's always helpful, but he doesn't give all the information that Sergeant Bennett wants. So they always have kind of a contentious relationship. Randi MacFarland, the reporter, she is slowly figuring out throughout the series that Duncan is immortal. Well, not immortal. She's just slowly figuring out that something's up with Duncan, because she has pieced together that he is always around with anything involving swords, beheadings, or like violent crimes. She's just kind of figuring out that like Duncan is always around.
I do like that instead of, maybe it's in previous episodes and she's learned like, oh, he's not a bad man. She's going straight to, why are you trying to protect this area? Why are you being good? Is this part of something bigger that we should all be aware of? Or is it something small that under the surface needs to be done? I don't know. But I like that she wasn't immediately thinking, oh, Duncan's the one trying to kill this man.
Yeah, she's got a history with Duncan and Tessa and Ritchie, and like she's very much figured out that they're always on the side of right. And some of the past episodes, Duncan has been the victim of crimes and thefts and things like that. So she's, well aware of that.
I was trying to remember where I know this woman from, because I'm like, she looks very familiar. And I went through her IMDb and I'm like, well, yeah, technically I've seen, because she's just 1 to 5 episodes in so many TV series. But then I get down to the 80s and not A Nightmare Before Christmas, A Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. That would be where I know her from.
Okay, right on. A little bit of lore we learned through these past. We didn't learn a lot of lore in these episodes. Basically, we were a lot of, villain of the week kind of thing. But some of the lore we did find out is that you find out that you're immortal. You don't know it until you actually die and then come back to life for the first time. And then you stay that same age for the rest of your life. So like for example, if Duncan had been born and died in childbirth, then he would be a baby forever, I guess. That would be a kind of a weird situation.
Well, in that case, I think everyone should start flatlining. Figure out at the prime age of hey, you want to know what? I'm 33. I kind of like how I am right now. Yeah. Let's try and flatline. And if I wake up before, they resuscitate me flatliner style, then I'm an immortal. But if they have to resuscitate me, well, I guess I'm not immortal.
That's true. Yeah, and you make a good point too. Like you are a good age to be immortal because like you're like in your early 30s. It doesn't matter. I mean, you're in great shape as well. Our listeners don't know this, but James is cut just like Duncan's cut. James is cut as well.
No, not nearly that. No. Stop giving them lies.
You're a healthy dude who works out.
Yes.
And if you became immortal, it doesn't mean that you would stay in that same shape forever because immortals are not vampires. Like vampires can't lose and gain weight, whereas immortals can lose and gain weight and they can get stronger and weaker.
Yeah, but right now, I think looks-wise, I am pretty attractive. Like, for the first time in my life, I'm like, yeah, that guy's good.
That's why I agree with you because, yeah, being like in your early 30s is perfect. Because like me, if I was immortal now, I have like an older visage. I would much rather have been immortal when I was 26 and I weighed 130 and I was in the best shape of my life. That's when I would have liked to have been immortal. Like right now, I'd be kind of like, I'd be tired all the time for the rest of my life.
But you could, if you're like, well, I have all the time in the world, I'm just going to work out and then run every day.
Yeah.
Or just like 2 days a week, all I'm doing is running, you know, like Presley style. You know, our friend Presley. One summer, she just ran. That's all she did.
Yeah, I definitely relate with her in that respect because, 2020 and 2021, I was a runner as well. And that's all I did. I was the best shape of my life, too. Well, I say I wasn't when I was at 26, but in current years, I was in fantastic shape during the right before the pandemic and during the pandemic. Enough about me. We're getting into the lore of the Highlanders.
The best shape of my life during the Clinton administration, okay?
Wait, how old were you?
I was probably like 7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Immortals can sense one another within about a half-mile radius.
Okay.
It varies sometimes, but that's pretty much the average is about a half mile. They also sense when a quickening is occurring, and they also have like Wolverine quick regenerative healing powers.
Okay.
Like we learned that in the episode that featured Joe Pantaleone as like a crazy doctor, and he like has Duncan as a prisoner, and he's watching him heal, and like his wounds are healing before his very eyes.
That's the lead guitarist of the Butthole Surfers, right?
No, it's the guy who loves steak in The Matrix, and he's like, "Oh, I love steak so much. I'm gonna tell on Neo."
That was a reference to a Gwar episode of Mostly Speaking Sentai when you were like, you know, he looks a lot like Gibby Haynes. And we're like, who the hell is Gibby Haynes? And you're like, the drummer for the Butthole Surfers? You guys know that, right? No.
I just assumed since we have so much in common that you would know every single person that I know, James. And it's just not true. Duncan has had 6 quickenings so far in this series. The best one was when there was a quickening involving a motorboat blade, and that took a dude's head off. That was pretty awesome.
Whoa. So is he just standing next to this boat and then the guy drops in the water, or does the boat blade fly off and he's just like, oh yeah, I get this experience, kind of like in Diablo 2, you're just hanging around people, mowing down the tomb of Azrael or whatever. A bail run, let's just go with that. Is it that, or did he take the boat blade, like the motor, and go and chop into him?
Yeah, they were like doing some kind of battle like in a little boathouse, like a little garage that has a boat inside of it. And like somehow the engine came on while they were doing their battle. And when the guy fell into the water, somehow he fell right into that blade. And the blade was just enough. So Duncan wasn't expecting that quickening. It was like, well, okay, here we go. So it's like answers the question, like, what if someone gets their head cut off and a mortal happens to be around? Does it go to him? Sure does.
Like if you're walking or you're in Paris, you're on a sidewalk eatery, you're at a restaurant, and then all of a sudden a guy's walking past you, Final Destination style, a big pane of glass falls from 3 stories down, slices that guy's head off. you're unexpected of this quickening and you go, Gah! And then everyone around you's like, what's up with that guy? Lightning just shot into him and he's fine.
I mean, yeah, that's a big deal because that's what we saw this episode. Like when some human mortals like observed them fighting, they had to stop because it's like, we can't let any mortals know what's up. So that's a nightmare scenario for any immortal to be sitting at a Parisian cafe with an unexpected quickening right there in front of everyone. Damn. Okay. So yeah, Duncan has had, 7 quickenings, including this last one. And there was one quickening for Joan Jett when in her episode, she beheaded an immortal and she got a quickening as well.
Whoa. Was she funny when she got quickened?
Oh my God. So Duncan is funny when he does it because it looks like he's having an orgasm. Joan Jett was having like a spastic orgasm when she was doing it because there's a lot of herky-jerky, like Elaine dancing going on. We should have watched that episode. And I think we might have to go back and do a rewatch of that eventually because you would love that episode, James. It's top notch. It's my favorite one I've seen so far.
I do have a recommendation of a show in this sort of vein that we could do after this. And it's only 22 episodes, so we'd probably be able to do all of them. And it is having to deal with time. There are jumps and whatnot. We're in the past and then we're not. Mortal Kombat Conquest, I think is what it was called. It was a TV show from 1992, and it is wild, man. It has the same kind of feels as Highlander.
I don't know. You may or may not be able to convince me to go that direction. I'm not sure, James. I'm skeptical right now.
Okay.
Well, some other immortals that we've met in this show so far. We've met a redneck racist sheriff. We've met 2 drug dealer immortals. That's a good job to have if you're immortal.
Yeah.
One of those backwood hermits like I talked about. Like that's kind of my style. We met one of them. Episode 12, just last episode, it was revealed that the head police chief was immortal. And Duncan gets to do the beheading and gets to do the quickening for that guy. So that was pretty rad. There can be only one choice when it comes to podcast recording. That's Zencastr. Zencastr is an easy-to-use podcast website for all your recording and editing needs. Recording audio, recording video, editing audio, editing your video. Don't lose your head or your files. Use Zencastr, the easy-to-use platform. You can use the Sweet Shot of Time promo code, Sweet Shot of Time, for 30% off Zencastr. Just go to Zencastr.com and use that promo code, Sweet Shot of Time, for 30% off. Hey, you love podcasts. You know what? You can podcast. Your story can live forever. Do you want to live forever? Then use Zencastr. It's time to share your story. Especially if you're immortal, you probably have a pretty interesting story. Duncan's died a lot. He's jumped off of a high rocky cliff and his body was all mangled, but he's totally fine. He's been hung, he's been shot in the back of the head, and he's been run over by a car and still in fantastic shape, looking great.
Yeah.
Our guest stars we've had that we've missed out on, the pre-mentioned Joe Pantaleone and Joan Jett. We saw Vanity in a great episode. She's like one of Prince's proteges back in the day. Dana Gould played like an extra in one of the episodes, the same episode with Joan Jett. We see glimpses of Dana Gould, Tim Reed from WKRP, Vincent Schiamelli, Mark Singer, Wes Studi. These are all like big names from the 90s that were guest stars. The best rewatch I've had so far is number 5, Free Fall with Joan Jett. That's by far my favorite that I've seen. Even including this episode, Band of Brothers, I still prefer the Joan Jett episode. That's my favorite so far.
Hell yeah.
The worst episode so far is number 6, which followed that episode. It's called A Bad Day in Building A. And there's no immortal in that episode that he has to face. It's more of like a courtroom drama. And just didn't stick with me too much. A lot of Randi MacFarland is in that episode.
Okay.
But other than that, it's a lot of courtroom scenes and a lot of tension, and it just didn't stick with me. The best quote I've heard Duncan say so far, James, here's a good one. He says, "The good news is I'm a little rusty right now. The bad news is that I'm really pissed."
Okay.
Can you believe Duncan said that? Our man, our square boy Duncan said he's pissed. Jesus.
I know, I can believe that.
He's such a goody most of the time. So it was really shocking to see him say that. I liked it a lot.
He should have said good news is I'm a little rusty. The bad news is I know you haven't had your tetanus shot. Shwink, shwink,
oh, God,
shwink.
that's even better, dude. Why weren't you writing this show back in 1994? Let's see. So, yeah, now we're on episode 13, and you're on board now. Why is this episode on the list? It's because of Darius. He's a fan favorite. He's been in 6 episodes. We're going to see him in 5 more episodes coming up. This is wild, James. This episode aired in February of 1993. The guy who plays Darius, his name is Werner Stocker. He died in May of 1993.
Oh, no.
So he was able to film like 5 or 6 episodes of Highlander, and he was able to watch them be aired on USA. But he died very shortly thereafter. So we don't really get to see this guy in much more stuff in the future films. So
that
let's
sucks.
see. Yeah, it does suck. Darius here, like I said, was played by Werner Stocker. And the bad guy, Grayson, was played by James Horan. And I don't know if you looked up his IMDb or not, but it is massive. This dude has been in every single damn thing. And he sounds kind of like, I had to look him up because I was sure that this is the guy who played the Brain in Pinky and the Brain. His voice sounds just like him. And like also like Troy McClure. Sometimes he sounds like the Simpson character, Troy McClure, but he's got
Phil Hartman?
Yeah, Phil Hartman is Troy McClure. And sometimes in his line delivery, he sounds like Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman being Troy McClure, that is. But yeah, these are the band of brothers we're talking about this episode. These 2 guys are like ultra immortals. They're called the Ancient Ones. And, I got my little card set here, James. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read you a brief synopsis of this episode because this really clears a lot of things up for our first scene and going forward. All right, you ready for this?
Yes.
All right. Let's see if my lighting is good. Okay. Darius, a former warlord and now a monk, sent a message in ancient runes warning Duncan that Grayson, a disillusioned ex-commander, is hoping to draw Darius out of holy ground and kill him. Grayson has used this tactic to kill Darius's disciples before. His new target is Victor Paulus, an international humanitarian. In order to stop the murder of Paulus, Duncan trained on an island for the inevitable confrontation with Grayson and battled his own fears of combating a more experienced immortal. In the end, Duncan was successful against his more skilled opponent. So that kind of like tells us a little bit about where Darius and Grayson come from. Do you follow that?
I was confused about why he's trying to protect this Victor guy. I was like, I guess that's from a different episode, but This makes sense now.
Yeah, Victor's just a pawn, basically. We don't need to know much about him. He just wants Darius outside of a sanctuary so he can chop his head off.
And by Grayson wants that.
Grayson wants that, yes.
Victor does not want that.
Oh, Victor does. Is that what I said?
Yeah, I was mentioning Victor because I was like, well, how does he fall into all of this? It must be from a previous episode.
And it is not. Victor is also a new character. Victor is one of Darius's disciples who Darius has like bestowed all his wisdom on.
I get that now. Well, from that, the confusion here was you said Victor as if he were Grayson, and that's where I was like, wait. Victor doesn't want that. That's Grayson you're talking about.
Classic misspeak from Steve Barnes. That's why I have a fantastic editor who like gets rid of all this stuff for me. It's great. I love the guy.
Now I can't get rid of this because you kept asking other things that are unrelated to this. Also, Steve, in future episodes,
yes,
if there's like 12 episodes in between what we're discussing to the next one, we can't have a 12-episode recap, man.
Everyone was loving it. They're on the edge of their seats the whole time. That's important information. Okay, I want to tell you, I had detailed notes for every single one of those episodes, and I was going to read you all of those dang notes. Instead,
I would have walked.
I condensed it down to as short as possible and the most interesting tidbits as possible. So I tried. In the future, I'll do better, James. I promise.
I would say just major lore if anything happens, maybe some guest stars, and then your favorite, your least favorite.
Okay. That's exactly what I did. Okay, here we go.
That is okay. Well, no, it's not.
All right, we're going to start our episode here with that great Arc de Triomphe that we all know from Final Fantasy. Grayson and Darius are outside this monk temple, and Grayson is killing a dude trying to lure Darius out. Basically, these are the old ancient ones we're meeting here. These guys are even older than boomers. These are the oldest guys around. And he lets us know that Darius was once a great general that ruled Europe for 1,000 years. Dang, go Darius. Hell yeah. So yeah, that's our first scene set in Paris. James, any comments on that scene? I don't know who that guy was that got killed, by the way. No clue.
Darius goes, "No, get back." Just how he's talking was very funny in this first scene. And then I thought, like, yeah, become a monk. If you're an immortal, you're always on holy ground. But then I started thinking, what is the largest holy ground? Is the Vatican. If you are in just the Vatican City, is all of that holy ground? If you go to an Amish village, is that all holy ground? Is most of Los Angeles holy ground because Scientology owns most of it?
Damn, yeah, and we know this episode, a graveyard is holy ground, so there's huge graveyards all over. If you're standing on top of a grave, is that holy ground?
Mm-hmm. And if you live at a cemetery, like, oh, hey, or across the street from a cemetery, like, where does the boundaries of holy ground go? I think in one of the movies, one of them was a church-going man. It's the last one, The Source, I think. He was goofy in it. Maybe he was living in the Vatican and that's why?
I mean, yeah, that would be like your smartest move because you can move around all kinds. You're not refined to like one, house or whatever, or one building. That's smart. I didn't even think about that, but the Vatican is like holy ground, like the whole area, or at least it's considered such. I don't know. Well, we're going to move on to the antique shop here. All the antique shops this episode are a little tense. So this episode's kind of tense, or this scene, I should say. Paris is calling here. Tessa reveals that Paris has been calling, wanting her artwork, and Duncan has received these mysterious runes from Darius. So already we're out the gate. We got some mystery happening. This is our first time hearing Darius. Yes?
When he pours those out, he says the runes, ancient runes. And I'm like, that's very similar to saying it's shit, stinky shit. Like, yeah, man, runes are going to be ancient and shit's going to stink. You don't need the signifier. Now, if it was like, these are new runes, okay, yeah, tell me that. And it's like, oh, this is delicious smelling shit. Yeah, tell me that.
I mean, my mind immediately went to Scrabble because it looked like he had like a little Scrabble satchel and like the little pieces came out like the letters, and I wanted to form letters. That's where my mind went immediately, and I had to pull back into what we were watching here. But yeah, the information here is, they want her artwork in Paris, and it looks like she might be getting a job over there. Ritchie is nonplussed.
Oh, real quick, is your wife enjoying that you're watching all this Highlander?
She won't even sit in the same room with me while I'm watching Highlander. It fucking sucks. How about you? Okay. How's Nicole liking this?
Well, I'm still watching it at 1.25 speed. It does not seem like I'm watching it at 1.25 speed. And I'm watching it before she even wakes up because I have to... We record at 9:30. What else am I going to do? I watch this at maybe 5:30 this morning.
Yeah, I'm going to convince Heather to watch the Joan Jett episode because it's a standalone episode. You can watch just that one. But yeah, so far she even refuses to even begin to watch it. Like, she's heard the Queen song a million times because I never skip the intro. And then I've also put that song on my playlists. So that song is always coming out of my living room and out of my work cubicle constantly. So I don't know. I think she's just sick of it already. And so we got 32 more episodes to go. I mean, she might divorce me for this, James. I don't know.
I was going to say maybe she'd prefer it more if you watched Trancers in between the single episode we actually need to watch every other week. But I was like, I don't know if Nicole is fine with Trancers when it's good. I think maybe the third one she was most interested in, but there are some movies that, either Jose and I or Corey and I are obsessed with from podcasting that Nicole's like, I just don't get it. Specifically, Voyage of the Rock and Roll Aliens and what's the Body Melt. She's like, it's not that good, guys. And I'm like, yes, it is. Even Corey thinks it's that good, Nicole. What? It's as if you didn't watch the movie, Nicole.
I've been having a great TV experience since the last time you and I talked. It's been 2 weeks, and since then I've watched 12 episodes of Highlander. I've watched 24 episodes of Mr. Robot, which is also a show that you could watch on like 2 times speed and probably be fine with because it's a very slow going show as well. But I love it personally. And then I've been watching some movies, and one of the movies that I watched was a little movie called Trancers.
You watched Trancers?
Yeah, I absolutely watched Trancers, James.
We had to discuss 11 episodes of Highlander before, and I had to mention Trancers for you to be like, oh yeah, I watched Trancers. What did you think? He's Jack Death, baby.
I mean, his name is great. His demeanor is not as great as his name. James, I didn't totally love it. I did not totally love it, but there are some things about it that I absolutely loved. I also took notes, and we'll talk about that at another time for sure.
Okay, hell yeah, guys. Trancers, watch it, then go listen to Death to Squids. It was originally a Trancers podcast. Now it's just sci-fi action, which includes every movie of Highlander minus the anime. Also, people in the community, what do you think of the anime?
Sure, yeah, I haven't heard thing one about the anime, not at all. And I probably should check it out. Right now I'm focused on this live action. I'm going to be watching that anime at some point, though, especially before the movie comes out. This, new movie, which who knows now? It's not even, hasn't even started filming yet. So I think we've got a couple of years to go.
Yeah.
Let's get back into our episode. Duncan knows that Grayson is about and that he needs to be battling this dude Grayson. So he goes to his island cabin. Did you realize that this cabin that they're at is the island that we saw on episode 1?
Yeah.
Okay, I did not until my second watch. And then it kind of dawned on me that that's where we're at because of the snow. The snow threw me off.
And I was wondering, is this a set or are they really outside? Because some of it, like the backgrounds look like a set, but they are breathing and you see its cold breath coming out.
Right. I'm convinced it was a soundstage personally. I mean, I could be wrong. And that could just be, regular steam. Maybe they have those little steam cages in their mouth like Conan the Barbarian. Remember that?
I'm going to say no, they didn't have budget for stuff like that.
Yeah, when you and I watched Conan the Barbarian, we talked about the steam coming out of their mouths, and we found out that they had little capsules of dry ice in little cages they would keep in their mouth so that they would blow steam out their mouths when they talked.
Yeah, also OSHA is now a thing. They're not like this isn't Golan Globus or the Canon guys. They are not going to put dry ice technology in anyone's mouths.
This is 1993 though, remember? So it could be.
Yeah, but it's filming in Canada where Canada actually cares about people, and then eventually in France, also people who care about people.
Yeah, the city of love, that's right. They never go inside that cabin. They hang outside the cabin all the time with their cold breath. And he's got that, speaking of Conan, he's got that weird wheel thing, just like Conan had when he was training. So he's got this weird wheel log training method that he does. But yeah, this is the first time back there. So this is interesting. And this is where Ritchie and he are kind of talking about the quickening, potentially changing a person. Because Darius used to be a certain way, a more warrior type dude. And then he beheaded the oldest immortal that was known. And after he did that, he kind of took on that dude's personality. So that's kind of, opened up a lot of questions for our young Ritchie here. But let's see. Yeah. Next scene before we move on. Or do you have anything before we move on, James? I misspoke.
My next note is when they get back into the antiquity store.
This is a funny ass scene. Yeah. Grayson comes to visit the antique shop. Tessa clocks Grayson right away, which impresses Grayson. He's like, oh, so Duncan has told you about me, eh? They basically are playing cat and mouse around this display case and like playing peekaboo with each other. But the main gist of this is, watch out for Grayson because he's going to come after Tessa if you don't.
Now, I understand it's a set. You can't actually have glass cases because, it'll break.
Right.
But The easiest way for people to know that's not glass is you're not properly cleaning it. Yes, it's harder to clean plastic than glass, but that shit was smudgy as hell. It's an upscale thing, for one. And two, you're on a TV set. Have someone clean it. And if it can't get clean, just try. Or, maybe not film around where like light is shining in to really see those smudges.
Yeah, you're pointing out some of the flaws. You pointed out like the walls getting like smushed in last episode. I didn't notice this glass thing either, but you're right. I think that's Ritchie's job. Ritchie's job is to go around and like clean all the glass cases. So I think he's slacking here.
Unless it's the interior of the cases and Duncan's like, I still don't trust you to do that.
All right. Yeah. So, we're learning about Victor Paulus here. We talked about him a little bit earlier. He kind of reminds me of the actor who plays Lieutenant Dan. What's that guy's name from Forrest Gump?
No idea.
Okay, well, the listeners know the actor who played Lieutenant Dan. This guy looks like him. Just throw some glasses on that Lieutenant Dan, and he's Victor Paulus. He's the humanitarian dude, and he's Grayson's target to lure Darius. And so Duncan's whole thing now is to protect Victor. We mentioned this earlier. I'm mentioning it again. Darius has a huge impact on this guy, Duncan. He met him, I guess, during the Revolutionary War. Is that the war that they're fighting here?
That's what I thought. I said him as a revolutionary soldier is very funny, but it looks they said something about Napoleon, so I think it's right. Some French war.
Maybe the French English War. We should look this up. I don't know.
You got a little French right there. You said maybe,
Hey, baby. Darius and Duncan can sense one another on the battlefield there. And they're helping a mortal man here, talking about compassion and kindness. This show is totally woke, James. Every episode is all compassion, kind, being respectful of other people's feelings. This is a woke-ass show. I love it.
That's why it only got one season, am I right? Go woke, go broke.
6 seasons in a movie. Come on.
Oh, right. No. I think it had 2 movies technically for this series.
Well, yeah. Well, if that's the case, yes. 6 seasons and 6 movies. Jesus. All right. They talk about the futility of war. Darius has all these like homeopathic remedies that he like knows about. He's old school, even though he's talking about like modern medicine. And here we are in the 1700s, but he's old school that way. He helps his guy out. And Duncan says this twice, says it to Ritchie, says it to Darius. He says, I'm a warrior. I choose my side and I fight. So definitely he and Darius have different worldviews, different personalities, but still much respect for one another.
He eventually does say, I choose battles that I find just, and he chooses the sides of those battles within that context. And I think as an immortal, especially when a lot of fighting is on the battlefield as infantry, up until, like maybe the 90s when that starts, or even into helicopters being a thing, etc. Yeah, I think being an immortal, and if you're not going out there helping to fight for what's right, it kind of seems pointless.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Because you can just be mowing people down and helping others who aren't immortal, saving them from death. You're just a one-man slice them up.
I mean, especially if you have a lot of fortitude and you have a lot of passion like Duncan does, because I'm going to say, I don't have a lot of, I don't know. I may not be the type of person, if I was immortal, that would be as upright as Duncan. He's he's like a pillar for goodness, and people call him a goody-goody a lot. But I do get the sense that if he's on the right side, he's going to do everything in his possible power to help the right side prevail.
Yeah, but also I think if you were immortal, you don't like fascism, right?
Absolutely not a fan of fascism.
So if you were an immortal, you'd be like, you want to know what? I can do something about what's going on right now, and I don't need to worry about death. I can like go in somewhere, and hey, if I get thrown in jail, I'm again like that ICP song, I want my shit. You're there for 80 years, and they're like, why is he here?
I mean, I guess you're right. I've always been kind of like a person that's like, the main things that I have that I can use in this world is my vote, my actual body, my voice, and my money. And what I do with those things can have an impact on others. And yeah, when we started getting people in the White House, I wasn't exactly happy with currently. And there were opportunities to go and voice your opinion about this in Richmond. I absolutely went and did so because I wanted my body to be there and my voice to be there. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe if I was immortal, I might have even more of a stronger conviction about these things. I'm selling myself short here. I'm trying to say I'm a wimp and Duncan's awesome, but yeah, I have potential to be awesome too. Yeah,
or if you were an immortal, you could start petitioning for laws to be changed,
right,
where presidential elections are solved and won via a sword battle. And then you're like, hey, yeah.
Hell yes.
I do think war should be fought like that. I think it should be a competition of 3 different things, like chess, fencing, and soccer. It's best of 3, and whoever wins you need a team sport, I think, because then it's like harder to throw a match. So like it would be nice that, hey, you got chess. Maybe you also have like 3 people each going up against each other, and then like whoever wins best of 3 that way. Hey, you won the chess segment, fencing the same way, and then soccer. Hey, we got 3 matches. Whoever wins the most. Oh, we're able to prevent bombs from dropping. And hey, I get this land and you don't.
Yeah, I honestly really like this idea, especially the chess match you're talking about, because that reminds me of the series I'm reading right now, the Joe Abercrombie series, The First Law. I'm reading the book right now, The Trouble with Peace. And the thing they have in this book is like, it's just like James is saying, it's like an ancient like warrior society. It's fantasy. So everybody has swords and they're fighting with swords and stuff. But the leaders are the strongest, toughest, smartest warriors are the 2 leaders. And there's this thing that they can do where they can have a one-on-one contest. They can call off the entire battle and say, we're going to have a one-on-one contest. This guy represents them. This guy represents them. And the winner is the winner and everybody else can live. And I don't know, that's a pretty great strategy. And chess is a good, like, non-violent way that you could determine that. And plus, that involves strategy, which the strongest, toughest guys have to use strategy in their battles. So I'm liking this idea. I think we should get some chess boards in these EU meetings going forward, James.
And all 3 of those things, you don't need a lot of money to produce a team that can do very well. Chess, very easy. Fencing is just you need the equipment, which isn't that hard to obtain or expensive. Maybe it would shoot up. No, I think the demand would rise so hard. And then soccer, most countries have a soccer team and a soccer arena or a soccer field to practice on. So I think that would level the playing field for everyone. But we got to get back into this episode.
But I got to say that, like, if it was a soccer match, you've seen those soccer hooligans get all crazy after the match and their team wins. I don't know if that's going to be the best option here.
Yeah, but none of those soccer hooligans are going to have bombs and shit. It's not like they're going to go out and, maybe they might light some stuff on fire, but that's better than a prolonged war conflict.
Yeah. Well, all right. You're right, though. We got to get back on track here. We're on episode 13, and you and I saw a lot of like makeout scenes during episodes 1 and 2. Between episodes 3 and 12, there were no makeout scenes. There were no topless scees. Yes?
Okay, hey, Reddit, I understand what you're doing now, and I like it. You chose the episodes where side boob was shown, because that's what, episode 1, episode 2, and now episode 13. My next note literally is, we really get sex and swords, sand shirts in every episode? Every episode I've seen, because you fucking perverts out there, aka my kin, are the ones choosing the ones with boobies.
I know. Well, yeah, we haven't seen any of this since episode 5, because there were some makeout scenes between Joan Jett and Ritchie that happened in that episode. But yeah, they're bringing sexy back, I guess. So yeah, we like it. And after they make out and do their sexy stuff, shirtless Duncan is practicing and having these big thoughts. And, he's anxious about fighting Grayson. He knows Grayson is stronger and better than he is. And then Grayson shows up and leaves a little memento at his door, a little headless soldier. Pretty rad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, next scene, we get Randi MacFarland. She's back. We get to actually see her for the first time. And so is the helicopter, dude. They were really big on helicopters in the first few episodes, and there was always a helicopter featured. We haven't seen a helicopter since episode 6. Helicopter's back, and so is Randi MacFarland, and they're all watching Victor Paulus. An assassination attempt occurs here, and Duncan jumps in the way and saves him. Randi is quick to notice this. She recognizes Duncan as he drives off, and then she clocks Duncan's Thunderbird sitting over there. The Thunderbird is currently for sale in the year 2025. If you go to ebay.com, you can buy that 1964 Thunderbird that was used in the Highlander series.
Whoa. They're not going to use it for the next movie?
I guess not. I mean, I think they use different vehicles for different eras, and this was like specifically Duncan's car in Seacouver. I don't know if it goes over to Paris or not, because I think there's a lot of boat scenes in Paris, if I remember correctly.
He'd have to switch over the steering wheel. Yeah,
how could he do that? That's a pain. Well, it's a pain in the ass for us, but for an immortal, no problem at all. He's got connections.
Or they just do how they would do on Power Rangers and just flip the film. Yeah, they would mirror image the film because all the scenes, if it was a Japanese person driving in the Super Sentai footage, they just flip it, or they just would not care. And it's like, well, they're driving on the wrong side of the street now.
Nobody's going to notice. All right. Randi's here. She hides in the car. She's waiting for Duncan, tries to get some answers out of him, tries to figure out his story. And she's a reporter, so she wants a story. That's what she's trying to do here. Yeah, she wants to know who wants Paulus dead, and Duncan's giving her nothing, like he always does. He never gives her any answers, just gives her quips and smiles and leaves her be. Oh, this actually might be the last time we see Randi MacFarland. We might be saying a goodbye to her, because on to Paris. And they even make a mention here, like Duncan's like, I might not ever see you again. And she's like, wait, you might not? Huh? What? I believe this might be a goodbye for Randi. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, Freggy Krugy got her.
All right, next scene, we got Duncan. He is trying to persuade Tessa to go to Paris because he wants her to be safe. He knows that, Grayson's got his sight on her. Yeah, Tessa's worried, as she should be. The next scene I got is the graveside speech. Am I getting ahead of you, James, or am I good?
Keep going.
All right. Yeah, so Victor Paulus is here in that graveside speech. He's given this speech. I believe the speech was centered around, like, when you're at peace, what do you do to keep the peace? He's saying you can't just be complacent. You got to keep the peace going. So while he's talking, it forces Duncan to remember a time way back when he was in Darius's monk monastery, I guess. I don't know.
Parish, something.
Yeah, parish. There you go. I think it might actually be a monastery. I might have been right. Duncan remembers when this pilgrim asshole dude stabbed Darius in the gut and then ran off. Duncan's wearing this clever cloak disguise and whips it off, proceeds to fight with this asshole pilgrim.
No, wait, you gotta give them the correct line reads. The guy's like, oh, what are you, a priest? Or another priest? And then Duncan whips it off and he goes, I'm no priest, whips out his sword and just starts stabbing fuckers.
Maybe you should be doing the action scenes then. Yeah, that sounds better than what I said.
Oh, yeah, because you hate the action scenes.
Well, actually, we're going to get to that because there was an action scene in this episode that I liked a lot. But Darius is stopping Duncan from killing this evil pilgrim. For whatever reason. Oh, because Darius loves peace and he loves compassion. So he doesn't want to kill the guy. Even though the guy tried to kill him, damn it. Duncan's like, I'm going to go to America. I'm going to find a better world there. I hope he does. And they part ways in peace. This is the last time that Duncan and Darius have seen each other, is what he's thinking about right now. And Duncan is wearing the wiggiest wig I've ever seen him wear on this show. Sometimes a wig can go past me and I don't notice it's a wig, but in this scene with the pilgrim guy, that's a wig. Wiggy wig.
I believe it's the 4th movie. There's a lot of wild wigs for both of our lead immortals.
All right. Yeah, the next scene is when Duncan and Grayson meet on holy ground because, Duncan finishes having his little memory and he's back there at the grave site. Victor Paulus wraps everything up. Thanks, y'all. Have a good night. And then Duncan and Grayson have a little chat here. That, like you said before, this is holy ground, so they can meet and chat. You know, just because they're on holy ground, they can't do a quickening there. They can't have a battle there, but they could have a fist fight if they wanted. They could have a screaming match if they wanted, but they're pretty respectful about these holy places. I've noticed this. Even the Kurgan in episode 1 was, well, he was kind of respectful, but I mean, respectful enough not to kill anybody or hit anybody.
Oh, so that wasn't the Kurgan in episode 1? That was Glance Gent or whatever?
I meant the first movie, the Kurgan in the first movie when he was in the church. That's what I was talking about. Episode 1.
I don't know if he wasn't respectful because he was still a goddamn creep while in the church.
He was, but he also could have like punched anybody he wanted. He could have like done any kind of violence he wanted. He just couldn't like chop anybody's head off. That's the main thing you can't do.
Can't they just like throw a bomb? I know we've been talking heavily about bombs, but like throw a Molotov into the church and like let it burn down. Is it still holy ground?
I think that's exactly right. I think you can negate a holy ground with fire. I think that's
smoke them out.
Yeah, it sounds just to me. I mean, it doesn't sound just, but it sounds doable. But yeah, let's talk about Grayson and Duncan here. I mean, we already know everything they're saying here. Grayson wants Darius dead. He wants Duncan to stand aside. Basically, he's just smug as hell. Like a don't stand in my way. He's got that little smirk. He's got the hair, the wave. I mean, this is the smuggiest dude I've ever seen, and he's pretty good at it. I used to really be repellent to this type of actor when I would watch shows when these shows were airing back in the 90s, and I would see a character like this. You know, I would automatically hate him, and it would be like almost like a hate that I could feel inside of me. And I know now that like that's the mark of like a great actor. Like, yeah, he's not like that in real life. He went through acting school. He had to like, you know, do all kinds of stage productions and comedy. And, you know, I mean, I don't know. He's super smug, but I got a lot of respect for this guy because he plays a great bad guy. He might be one of the he's probably like in my top 3 bad guys that we've seen in this series so far.
That's like heels in wrestling. The bad guys, if you can get the proper heat from the audience, you are a great actor. You know what to do to make them hate you, but not want to murder you, actually. Like, oh, no, I'm glad this person is here for me to boo them, opposed to, wow, this person needs to just get out of here. I never want to see them, because that's that bad heat.
Yeah, I think he's the top here. I said top 3. I'm going to say top 2. Randi pops in. She overhears the last part of that conversation, kind of pops out of nowhere, trying to get some more graveyard clues. I'm leaving the graveyard now. We're going to head back to the antique shop where there's a lot of tension happening. Tessa is leaving for Paris. She was just going to run off. She wasn't going to say goodbye to anybody. There's some pretty strange stuff happening here in this scene. Definitely weird. Tessa was going to run off without telling Duncan. When Duncan walks in the room and finds out, he surprises Ritchie and Tessa with tickets for Ritchie so that Ritchie can go with Tessa to Paris. He didn't ask Tessa first, you mind if Ritchie comes? Nah, he just went ahead and got him tickets. And Ritchie's not prepared at all. It's like, hey, you're going to leave for Paris like right now. Go pack your shit. I think there's all kinds of things wrong with this scene. But what are your thoughts, James?
Well, Ritchie loved it. And I was thinking the same thing. If someone said, hey, you're going to Paris for a little bit, I'd say, all right, man, rich daddy from, you know, the 14th century is sending me on my way. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that is what happens. And yeah, he's with it. He's worried about the wrong things, I believe. He's worried about eating snails. And I don't know. I'd be more worried about Duncan and Tessa at this moment because it seems like needs some sort of conversation to happen here that's not really happening.
But also, Ritchie's like 19, has been an orphan living on the streets. He now has a place. So if anyone saying, hey, this is what we're doing and it's something you never thought you'd be able to do and it's a good thing, you'd be like, yeah, of course I'm going to Paris and I'm going to be smiling about it.
Yeah, you're right. There was an episode in between these 2 episodes that we watched where Ritchie's talking to an old friend, and he does talk about that, how like, you know, his life sucked and like the opportunities that Duncan has given him have been life-changing, and he has, you know, a lot of love for Duncan and for Tessa for picking him up. I think he actually says at one point, you know, like, you know, I've really been lifted up and I don't want to go back down at this point. He says something along those lines. It's really cute in one of those episodes. But yeah, they're going to head off to Paris and Duncan's going to wave bye-bye. So we know that from this point on, Duncan stands alone in America, going to face that Grayson dude. Next scene, that's what's happening. We got another little arc that Grayson's standing underneath, smoking a smoke, and Duncan comes up to meet him. They have a little friendly conversation first, but it turns to swords almost immediately. They begin to fight, but some kids drive by and see them, and so they have to stop. No observers, no watchers allowed, James. So get your eyes off these guys, all right?
Well, good thing I am Bendejo.
I forgot. You're not a watcher. You're a Bendejo. Okay, all right. Next up is the press conference. We're waiting for Victor to come and give us some nice positive words. Grayson is there, though, and he has the third assassination attempt plan. He's got his bodyguards ambush. He infiltrated Paulus's bodyguards, and there's an ambush here. It's a good thing Duncan's watching out because this plan absolutely would have worked. Victor Paulus was dumb enough to follow them into this deserted corridor where there's just nobody around. Duncan shows up, takes out 8 dudes. Oh, James style. Duncan comes in. He's got a sword. He's like, whash, whash, whash. You're out of here, buddy. And that was that.
He also says, and there's another one in the elevator.
That's right.
Which also, that's a rude of Duncan to do. Well, maybe if the guy's dead, you don't want to see some child push the elevator button, it opens up and there's just someone with a huge slash in their chest. Yeah, okay. But leaving the guy in the doorway of the elevator, actually, what if the elevator's oh, the door is closed and just rips him in half? Then a kid sees that. Duncan, that's not good. You should have pulled him forward, stash him somewhere else and been hey, next to the elevator, there's another guy.
Yeah, he did leave a mess there. And did you notice that he noticed that guy was a bad guy? I think because of the ponytail. He saw the guy had that braided ponytail, and ponytail recognized ponytail, James. So he knew that something was up.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, he averts that. The whole assassination attempt is thwarted. Victor Paulus goes to the stage, doesn't even make any kind of notice of that. He was just, witnessed a fight and was almost killed. He's just oh, sorry I'm late. Let's talk about peace now. He's a really chill dude. I like this Victor Paulus. Randy's in session here too. She's watching, but she notices Grayson run out real quick. So she follows Grayson out to try to ask him a question. Grayson just ices her straight up, doesn't give her anything. And that might be the last time we ever see Randy. That scene. She's so disappointed. We leave her disappointed, James.
But also to the listeners who haven't watched this, she was running to try and find Duncan, not Grayson.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Because Duncan's always around for these things. She knows that Duncan has something to say. She misses out, though, because now it's time for the big scene, James. The big scene between Grayson and Duncan. They decide to meet at a sulfur mine for some reason. He shows up and he does the thing where he shouts from a cloud and his voice echoes throughout the sulfur mines. He's got a little ponytail. He decides, ponytails are cool. I want one too. Duncan seemingly is in over his head here. He's fighting an ancient one. And at one point, Duncan even takes the high ground. Actually, at 2 points, Duncan is on the high ground, Grayson is on the low ground, and still Grayson is the stronger fighter, has the better moves. So Duncan is definitely out of his element here. This is the first time he's losing. They do some weird, they go up some steps, they go through some scaffolding, they fall down, they're on the edge of something, and then they're down in the sulfur itself. And Duncan does this cool, little behind the back maneuver that you don't expect that gives him the upper hand. So he slices Duncan across the belly, then the arm, then there can be only one. It's a massive quickening, and Duncan picks up a lot of knowledge from this guy because the quickening is bigger than most of the other quickenings that we've seen. Duncan does his O face and falls to his knees. James, this was a great battle that I enjoyed. I could watch this battle. I could follow it. It made sense. There was no time that I was wait, where did that come from? Or why did he do that? It made sense. Duncan was going up the stairs trying to get the upper hand, but even then he couldn't. And I don't know. It worked for me, James. This fight worked for me. I think sometimes fights just get too fancy, and this one stayed in its wheelhouse, even though the setting was off the wall. I loved it.
I love it. Also harkens back to other Highlander movies where it always ends in a factory setting. Also, a lot of Three Ninjas movies end in a factory setting.
Okay.
So I am very primed for this to be a final fight scene. And when Duncan slices into Grayson, it's as if this man has never been sliced before, but he's been wanting it because he's like, oh. And like, yeah, I think he's into it and it's never happened. So when it finally does, he's like, wowie zowie, this was better than I thought it would be. Never mind. I was gonna say a very personal thing. It's like, oh no, yeah, that is something I enjoy. Hell yeah. It's like when you see something in like an adult film and you're like, I think I'm into that, and then you try it and you're like, oh boy, yeah, I lived up to expectations.
Hell yeah. And yeah, this was a big old quickening too. I think the funniest quickening that you missed out on was they were in like a flower garden and they did a quickening there. And then like all the flowers exploded. All the bushes started exploding. It was really bizarre, but it was worth seeing. I think that was episode 11. That was the one with Vanity, and they blew up the flower garden somehow. But he always has that orgasm face and he's pretty good at that face too.
It's crazy how there was never, especially for the cartoon, they could have done it for this. Maybe they did and I just never saw it. Highlander and Nestle should have teamed up for a Nes quickening. And then it's, the Nesquik bunny dressed up as a Highlander with lightning bolts shooting through him. And he's like, this is what will happen if you drink our soft drink.
I love that, dude. And especially if you had like a chocolate bunny or like a chocolate thing, you could bite its head off and you get the quickening yourself. And it has like some flavors inside the neck that like Pop Rocks. So it's like, oh boy. But battle is over. Duncan is the victor as usual, his 7th quickening. We're going to move over to Paris, which is, I think we're going to be from here on out. Duncan shows up to visit his old pal Darius. We're at the monastery. Then comes Tessa. As soon as Tessa shows up, Duncan's all eyes on Tessa. He's kind of a simp. I'm realizing this now. He's a total simp, dude. Especially towards the end of this when he's all like, yeah, I can be a kept man and you do all the working and I can just hang out on the barge. And he's totally happy just being Tessa's lapdog. He loves it.
Yeah, why wouldn't he be? That's why all these immortal dudes that we follow around, once they fall in love, they're like, oh man, I'm dedicated until the day I see you take your last breath.
I guess so. It's just this episode that I noticed just quite how simpy he is. Like he's like giggling and he's like his last words are like really high pitched and silly. He's happy to be a kept man at home.
The only thing he does wrong is he doesn't compliment her father horse.
That's right. That's Darius's big advice for Ritchie. Ritchie here too. Ritchie is kind of getting kicked to the curb by Tessa and Duncan from the get-go here. He's trying to meet some girls, and I think Darius can probably really help him out if he really tried. That advice was terrible. The father's horse advice.
Well, you just have to modernize it. Like, what is today's equivalent of a father horse?
I guess the father's car, right? Like the father's vehicle or his truck, his Ford F-50 or something.
Or if he's, a dad with that tism, his model train sets.
That's right.
Or his many, bass guitars and electric guitars.
Are you trying to go the Steve Barnes route now?
Yeah.
Right.
Compliment his VHS tape of Guar videos and shit.
I'm actually thinking about selling that this weekend. If you live in Richmond, come to another round on Saturday morning. I'll be selling some stuff over there. Well, actually, by the time this airs, it will have already happened. So you'll have to go back in time to do that.
You want to know what? I'll get this done real quick and we'll put it out this Thursday.
Oh, hell yeah. All right. Well, that was our whole episode here. I think, James, did you have anything, any last minute things or any wrap ups that I should be aware of before I move into our finals here?
No, I got to get to editing, baby.
Okay, I'll let you do that. I've been loving this series, as I said, and What is going to be our next episode? Let me get a quick peek at our notes, James, so I can see what our next episode is going to be.
And while he does that, I will give my plugs. Hey, listen to all my other podcasts. Wherever you're listening to this, you can listen to Magical Meatball Girls, Sweaty Time Pro Wrestling, This Movie's Gay, and Death to Squids, and the eventually returning The Height of Horror. So if you're into horror movies, listen to the aforementioned Presley, who just ran one summer, and Nicole and I think it's the funniest thing one of our friends has ever done. And she was also a teenager, so she was just a teenager running. So do all of that, then head over to patreon.com/MLMpod, where for $5 a month, you get exclusive content every single Friday. This Friday should be engaged with Nicolas Cage, and last Friday is Jose and I discussing 3 episodes of Step by Step that fall in line with our sci-fi action horror genres that we do over on Death to Squids. So it's going to be really fun. We'll be rip-roaring high watching Step by Step, one of the greatest sitcoms ever put on film.
And for me, I'm going to urge you to check us out on Instagram here. You can go to Sweet Child of Time Pod. That's my Instagram handle. Or intro.void is my other personal account. And I'm posting a lot of Highlander stuff there. On Facebook, I usually try to avoid Facebook like the plague, but then I've found the Highlander Heart group. It's a great group. I love it there. I think most of our listeners are from that group, so shout out to them. And join that group if you haven't already. It's a lot of fun. And then on Reddit, r/Highlander. Real simple. That's where the best stuff comes through. It's not the most popular stuff, but that's where you're going to get a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, a lot of stuff you wouldn't find anywhere else. So yeah, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. Our next episode is going to be season 1, episode 15. So we're only going to skip one episode this time. That episode is called For Tomorrow We Die. And Darius is also going to be in that episode. And we're going to get the first appearance of Xavier in that episode. So watch out for that. So next time you hear us will be season 1, episode 15, For Tomorrow We Die. But for today, we say goodbye. Thank you for listening to Sweet Child of Time. And as always, we hope you always find water and shade and shoes. Ciao, baby.
Ciao, baby.